while the agency requires an estimated amount of 880 billion naira annually to maintain our 36,000 kilometers of roads nationwide. We look at our budgetary allocations from the 2023, which is 76.3 billion naira, 2025, which is 103 billion naira, 2024, which is 103 billion naira, and an appreciable increase of 168 billion naira in the 2025 budget of this year. Though these figures shows gradual increase, but they remain far below the necessary threshold for sustainable road maintenance. If you look at this figure, you divide it into 36 states of the Federation, you will agree with me that each state will take 3 billion. 3 billion is not enough to maintain an existing road in each state. This persistent funding gap has forced FERMA into reactive mode of maintenance rather than preventive approach. The consequence of this rear glaring deteriorating road conditions, increased repairs costs and prolonged disruption for commuters and business alike. A proactive strategy backed by adequate funding is essential for ensuring smooth, safe, and efficient roadways nationwide. Thus, the diligent implementation and timely remittance of the 5% user charge are paramount.
So our prayer, sir, is for us to fully realize the 5% charge and its benefits. The committee is invited to note and consider a multi-pronged approach. And this will include amendment of the FERMA Act 2007 to include clear and mandatory provisions for the collection and administration and auditing of the 5% user charge. Secondly, there's a need to create a road fund account for FERMA. This account will be a dedicated account for road maintenance with statutory protection, ensuring that funds cannot be diverted or delayed by the Ministry of Finance or CBN. Thirdly, there's also a need for stakeholder engagement and public education. Launch awareness campaigns to explain the rationale and benefits of the charge, which could help gain public support and reduce resistance. Also, there is need to synchronize with subsidy removal framework. Now that the first subsidies are being phased out, the user charge can be transparently built into the pricing structure with public accountability. Lastly, full enforcement of the existing FERMA Act. The federal government can mandate the deduction and remittance of 5% charge through legislative and executive enforcement. By addressing these areas, Nigeria can develop a sustainable and efficient road infrastructure system that supports economic growth and improves the quality of life for its citizens. In concluding, the 5% charge on petroleum products, as outlined in the FERMA Amendment Act of 2007, remains a critical but yet to be utilized policy tool for addressing Nigeria's road infrastructure crisis. Its full and transparent implementation offers sustainable pathway to reversing the alarming state of the Nigerian roads, boosting economic performance, and
we have legacy agencies that were merged, and those agencies are: 1, the Department of Petroleum Resources, DPR, the PEF, and the PPPRA. that the agencies that were merged to be Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum and Regulatory Authority. I need to clear that. That's why I started that way. So one of the defunct, the legacy agency, the PPRA, was actually the one in charge of, the pricing and the price template for petroleum products. However, for the implementation of the FERMA Act 2007, the 5% user charge on petroleum product pump price, the templates were not included in the pricing template that's being used. And authority has not collected any money on it. However, it is worth of note that the FERMA Act 2007 did not stipulate the modalities for the collection of 5% user charge on the pump price or the agencies or organizations responsible for the same.
Distinguished guests, it is important to recall that Section 14, subsection 1H of the FERMA Amendment Act 2007 stipulates clearly that 5% of the pump price of petrol and diesel should be allocated to FERMA and the state maintenance agencies in the proportion of 40% and 60% respectively. However, over the years, this section of the Act has been complied more in breach, despite various attempts by the National Assembly through its oversight activities to compel compliance. This has somewhat affected the operations of the beneficiary agencies of government and by extension the Nigerian people who ply public roads. This is further expatiated by the speech of the minister just before me. As representatives of the people, we owe Nigerians the obligation by Section 88 and 89 of our Constitution to conduct a comprehensive investigation into the status of the 5% user charge, to determine the extent of the violation of the law and the amount of money unremitted and those responsible for non-implementation, and proffer legislative solution to these anomalies. The assignment of this committee is straightforward. Nigeria now looks up to you to ask the relevant questions and scan through the necessary documents to establish how much has accrued from the collection of the 5% user charge from the date of commencement of the law till the time of this investigation, and how much is standing to the benefit of FERMA and similar agencies at the state level.
Infrastructure in many parts of the world is not funded from budget. It's from such laws like the FERMA Act, from toll gates and all that, not budgetary provisions. And it's our goal to achieve that for our country. So that when we have left this earth, when somebody says, your father or your grandfather was in the 10th assembly, what did they achieve? This will be one of the achievements that will be mentioned.
Absolutely.
So we want to say it's not an attempt to wish hunt anybody, and we believe very strongly that this provision of the law can be best implemented during this time of deregulation. This is the best time to do it. And as oil prices begin to move in the international market, those who are in the oil industry in Nigeria must obey the law. Without the legislature, there will be no democracy. It could become a military or a dictatorship or a monarchy. The legislature is what makes it a democracy.
Absolutely.
And we in the 10th House of Representatives, we are poised to ensure that we perform our oversight duties and the law we make is obeyed for the benefit of Nigerians. We want to see the state of our roads get better. So we call on all stakeholders to please join hands with us. We are not winch-hunting anybody. We are not trying to do harm to anybody. We are not trying to do anything wrong. But we are going to insist on the law being obeyed. One of the differences between our country and some other nations is obedience to law. When you travel even in Africa, you will find that it's the same human beings that are here, that are everywhere. The difference is whether the laws are obeyed. This law